Have you ever walked into a room and completely forgotten why you went in there? Or maybe you struggle to recall a name that used to roll off your tongue without effort. It happens to all of us from time to time, but when these little lapses start happening more often, it can feel frustrating, even a little scary. The good news? Your brain is not doomed to decline with age. In fact, many of the so-called signs of aging aren't just a natural part of getting older, they're often the result of habits we've picked up over the years without even realizing the harm they're doing. That's why today, we're diving into 6 shocking habits that can speed up brain aging and, more importantly, what you can do to keep your mind sharp and vibrant for years to come. Now, before we jump in, I want you to know this: you have more control over your brain health than you might think. It's never too late to make changes, and even small adjustments can have a huge impact. So, let's start with one of the most surprising habits that could be affecting your memory and mental clarity right now. Let's talk about sleep. You might think, oh, I get by just fine on 5 or 6 hours a night, or maybe you've heard people say, I don't need as much sleep as I used to. But here's the truth: no matter your age, your brain still needs quality rest to function properly. When you sleep, your brain clears out toxins, processes memories, and strengthens the connections that help you think clearly and recall information. Skimping on sleep, even by an hour or two, can speed up brain aging and make you feel foggy, forgetful, and even more irritable during the day. And it's not just about how long you sleep, it's about how well you sleep. If you wake up frequently during the night or struggle to fall asleep in the first place, your brain isn't getting the deep rest it needs. Over time, this can lead to problems with memory, focus, and even increase the risk of dementia. So, what can you do? Start by setting a consistent bedtime, even on weekends. Our brains thrive on routine, and going to bed at the same time each night helps regulate your internal clock. Also, try cutting back on screen time before bed. The blue light from TVs, phones, and tablets can trick your brain into thinking it's still daytime, making it harder to wind down. And if you're someone who enjoys a nightcap, be careful. While a glass of wine might make you feel sleepy, alcohol actually disrupts your sleep cycle and can leave you feeling groggy the next day. Now, let's move on to something just as important: what you feed your brain. Have you ever noticed how certain foods can leave you feeling sluggish, while others seem to give you more energy and mental clarity? That's no coincidence. Your brain is fueled by what you eat, and some foods speed up brain aging faster than you might expect. Take processed foods, for example, things like packaged snacks, frozen dinners, and sugary treats. These foods are often loaded with unhealthy fats, preservatives, and excess sugar, which can lead to inflammation in the brain. Studies show that chronic inflammation is linked to cognitive decline, meaning that too many processed foods can make your brain age faster than it should. But here's the tricky part: these foods are everywhere, and they're designed to be addictive. That bag of chips or that slice of cake might seem harmless in the moment, but if they're a regular part of your diet, they could be silently chipping away at your brain health. The good news? You don't have to overhaul your entire diet overnight. Small changes can make a big difference. Start by incorporating more brain-boosting foods, like leafy greens, nuts, berries, and fatty fish. These foods are packed with antioxidants and healthy fats that nourish your brain and protect it from premature aging. And if you're a coffee or tea drinker, good news: a little caffeine can actually be beneficial, as long as you don't overdo it with sugar and cream. But here's something you might not have considered: hydration. Even mild dehydration can affect memory and concentration. If you're not drinking enough water throughout the day, your brain has to work harder, which can leave you feeling mentally sluggish. A good rule of thumb? Keep a glass of water nearby and sip throughout the day, especially if you tend to forget. Now, we've talked about sleep and nutrition, but there's another habit that can quietly speed up brain aging, and this one might surprise you. Stress. We all deal with stress, but chronic stress, feeling constantly overwhelmed, anxious, or on edge, can take a serious toll on your brain. When you're stressed, your body releases cortisol, a hormone designed to help you react to danger. In short bursts, it's helpful. But when stress becomes a daily occurrence, those high cortisol levels start damaging the very part of your brain responsible for memory and learning. Have you ever noticed how hard it is to focus when you're worried about something? That's your brain reacting to stress. And over time, chronic stress can shrink areas of the brain responsible for critical thinking, decision-making, and memory. So, what can you do about it? Start by finding small ways to relax. Deep breathing, spending time in nature, or even laughing with a friend can help lower stress levels. And if you tend to worry a lot, try writing down your thoughts. Sometimes, getting them out of your head and onto paper can make them feel more manageable. One of the best things you can do for your brain is to stay socially connected. Loneliness and isolation aren't just bad for your mood, they actually speed up cognitive decline. Engaging in meaningful conversations, joining a club, or even just calling a friend can help keep your brain active and engaged. There's so much more to talk about, and we're just getting started. Now that we've covered the impact of sleep, nutrition, and stress on brain health, let's keep going. There's another surprising habit that could be quietly aging your brain, and you won't want to miss it. We've already uncovered some surprising ways that everyday habits, like poor sleep, processed foods, and chronic stress, can speed up brain aging. But what if I told you that one of the most damaging habits isn't something you do, but something you don't do enough? I'm talking about movement. Now, I know what you might be thinking. I'm not as active as I used to be, but I still get around just fine. And that's great. But here's the truth, simply getting through your day isn't enough to keep your brain in peak condition. Physical activity isn't just about keeping your body strong, it's one of the most powerful tools you have to protect your mind. When you move your body, you boost blood flow to your brain. That means more oxygen, more nutrients, and more of the good stuff that keeps your brain cells thriving. Exercise also stimulates the release of brain-derived neurotrophic factor, let's call it BDNF for short, which is like fertilizer for your brain cells. It helps new cells grow and strengthens the connections between them, keeping your thinking sharp and your memory strong. But here's the kicker, a sedentary lifestyle, spending too much time sitting, can actually shrink the areas of the brain responsible for memory and learning. Yes, shrink. Studies show that people who sit for long periods without regular movement have a higher risk of cognitive decline. Now, before you start thinking, I can't do intense workouts anymore, let me reassure you, you don't have to. Even gentle movement, like walking, stretching, or chair exercises, can make a world of difference. If you can, aim for at least 30 minutes of movement most days of the week. And if 30 minutes sounds like a lot, break it up. A 10-minute walk after breakfast, some light stretching in the afternoon, and a few standing leg exercises while watching TV, it all adds up. But here's something you might not realize, it's not just about how much you move, it's also about how often. Even if you exercise for 30 minutes, sitting for the rest of the day can still put your brain at risk. So, set a reminder to stand up and stretch every hour. Walk around the house while talking on the phone. Even small bursts of activity can help counteract the negative effects of too much sitting. Now, let's talk about something a little more unexpected, something that could be quietly aging your brain without you even noticing. Multitasking. You might think that doing multiple things at once is a sign of efficiency. After all, if you can cook dinner while talking on the phone, or watch TV while scrolling through your tablet, why not? But here's the problem. Your brain isn't designed to focus on multiple things at once. What actually happens when you multitask is that your brain is constantly switching between tasks, sometimes dozens of times per minute. And that's exhausting for your brain. Each time your brain shifts gears, it uses extra energy and slows down your ability to process information. Over time, this constant switching wears down your mental sharpness, making it harder to concentrate, remember details, and even make decisions. Studies have found that chronic multitasking can actually reduce the density of brain regions involved in focus and memory. In other words, it's training your brain to be more forgetful. So, what can you do instead? The key is single tasking. Focus on one thing at a time and give it your full attention. If you're reading a book, just read. If you're having a conversation, really listen instead of thinking about what to say next. And if you find yourself constantly reaching for your phone or flipping between tasks, try setting boundaries, like designated screen-free times during the day. You'll be amazed at how much clearer and sharper your mind feels. And speaking of screens, let's talk about another hidden brain eater: too much passive screen time. We live in a world where screens are everywhere. TVs, smartphones, tablets, they make life convenient, but they also come with a downside. If you spend too much time consuming passive entertainment, like scrolling social media or binge-watching shows, it can weaken your brain's ability to think critically and retain information. Think about it. When you watch TV for hours on end, your brain isn't actively engaged. It's receiving information but not really working to process or create anything. The same goes for mindless scrolling. And over time, this can lead to a lazy brain, one that struggles with memory, problem solving, and focus. Now, I'm not saying you should throw out your TV or stop using your phone. The key is balance. Instead of watching hours of TV, try watching something engaging, like a documentary or a show that makes you think. When you're online, choose activities that stimulate your mind: reading, puzzles, even playing strategy games. And most importantly, don't let screen time replace real-world experiences. Spending time in nature, having face-to-face conversations, or even just sitting quietly with your thoughts is far more beneficial for your brain. We've covered a lot so far: movement, multitasking, and screen time. But there's still more to uncover. There's another surprising habit that could be putting your brain at risk, and it's something so common that most people never even think twice about it. We've already uncovered how poor sleep, stress, a sedentary lifestyle, multitasking, and excessive screen time can quietly speed up brain aging. But there's one more habit, one so common that most people don't even realize how damaging it can be. I'm talking about routine. Now, I know what you're thinking. Wait a minute, how can routine be bad? Isn't having structure in my day a good thing? And the answer is yes, up to a point. Having a schedule helps with stability and reduces stress. But if your days have become too predictable, if you do the same things, in the same way, every single day, it could actually be making your brain age faster. Here's why. Your brain thrives on novelty. It craves new experiences, challenges, and learning opportunities. When you do something new, whether it's trying a different type of food, taking a new route home, or learning a new skill, your brain has to work to process that information. It builds new neural pathways, strengthens existing connections, and keeps your cognitive abilities sharp. But when your days become too repetitive, your brain doesn't have to put in much effort. It starts operating on autopilot. And just like a muscle that isn't used, an understimulated brain starts to weaken over time. Scientists have even found that people who engage in new and mentally stimulating activities have a lower risk of cognitive decline compared to those who stick to the same old habits. So, what can you do to keep your brain engaged? It doesn't have to be complicated. You don't need to learn a new language overnight or take up a brand new career. Simple changes, like brushing your teeth with your non-dominant hand, rearranging your furniture, or even walking a different path in your neighborhood, can help wake up your brain. And if you really want to keep your mind sharp, challenge yourself to learn something new. It could be a hobby, like painting or gardening, or even just reading about a topic you've never explored before. Playing a musical instrument, picking up a new card game, or even doing crossword puzzles, all of these activities help create new brain connections and slow down cognitive decline. One of the best brain-boosting activities? Social interaction. We touched on this earlier, but it's worth repeating. Staying socially connected is one of the most powerful ways to protect your brain. Studies show that people who engage in regular, meaningful conversations and social activities have stronger cognitive function than those who isolate themselves. Why? Because conversation forces your brain to think, recall information, and process emotions all at once. It's like a mental workout. So, if you've fallen into a routine where you're spending too much time alone or doing the same things every day, shake things up. Call an old friend, join a book club, take a community class, whatever interests you. Not only will it make life more enjoyable, but it will also literally help keep your brain young. At the end of the day, the most important thing to remember is this: your brain is not doomed to decline. No matter your age, you can take steps to keep it sharp, strong, and full of life. It's all about breaking free from the habits that quietly wear it down and replacing them with choices that nourish and protect it. And it all starts with small, daily actions. So, if you've noticed yourself feeling more forgetful, struggling with focus, or just feeling mentally sluggish, don't panic. Start with one simple change: improving your sleep, moving more, reducing stress, or challenging yourself to learn something new. Over time, these small shifts will add up, and you'll feel the difference. Because here's the truth: aging is inevitable, but cognitive decline doesn't have to be. Your brain is capable of growth, renewal, and strength at any age. So, take care of it, keep it active, and most importantly, keep living fully and vibrantly. Here's to a sharper, healthier brain for years to come. You've probably heard the phrase "use it or lose it" when it comes to staying active, but did you know the same applies to your brain? We've already talked about how poor sleep, too much stress, sitting too much, and even an overly predictable routine can accelerate brain aging. But there's another silent threat, a habit so widespread that many people don't even recognize the damage it's doing. I'm talking about negative thinking patterns. Have you ever caught yourself saying things like, "I'm just getting old, my memory isn't what it used to be," or "I always forget things, it's just part of aging"? If so, you're not alone. But here's the shocking truth: what you believe about your brain has a direct impact on how well it functions. Scientists have found that people who believe cognitive decline is inevitable are more likely to experience memory loss. It's called the self-fulfilling prophecy. When you constantly tell yourself that your brain is slowing down, you unconsciously reinforce behaviors that make it true. You stop challenging yourself, you disengage from learning, and you become less confident in your mental abilities. On the flip side, people who believe they can keep their minds sharp tend to do just that. Their brains actually perform better, simply because they expect them to. It's called the mindset effect, and it's one of the most powerful tools you have to keep your brain young. So, how do you shift out of negative thinking? It starts with catching yourself in the act. The next time you find yourself saying something like, "I always forget things," try changing the narrative. Say instead, "I can improve my memory with practice." If you find yourself thinking, "It's too late for me to learn something new," reframe it as, "My brain is always capable of growth." Your thoughts are like seeds. What you plant in your mind, you grow in your life. And a brain that is constantly told it's strong, capable, and adaptable will act accordingly. But negative thinking isn't just about what you believe about yourself, it's also about how you react to stress, uncertainty, and life's challenges. Have you ever noticed how prolonged worry or anxiety makes you feel mentally exhausted? That's because constant negative thinking, whether it's worrying about the future, dwelling on past mistakes, or focusing on what's wrong instead of what's right, puts a huge strain on your brain. It activates your stress response, flooding your body with cortisol, which, over time, damages brain cells and weakens memory. The solution? Gratitude and mindfulness. Now, I know that might sound a little too simple, but it's backed by science. Studies show that people who regularly practice gratitude, by focusing on the good in their lives, no matter how small, have better memory, lower stress levels, and stronger cognitive function. Gratitude literally rewires your brain, helping to shift focus away from negative thought patterns and toward positive ones. A simple way to do this? Every morning, think of 3 things you're grateful for. They don't have to be big. Something as simple as "I had a great cup of coffee" or "I talked to my friend yesterday" is enough. The key is to train your brain to look for the good. Mindfulness is another powerful brain booster. Simply taking a few moments each day to slow down, breathe deeply, and focus on the present moment can help calm the stress response and improve mental clarity. If you've ever had those days where your mind feels like it's racing in 100 directions, mindfulness helps bring it back to center. Now, we've talked about how negative thinking can age your brain faster, but there's another habit that's just as sneaky: not challenging yourself enough mentally. Your brain needs to be stretched. It's built for problem solving, learning, and discovery. But if you're doing the same things every day without introducing new mental challenges, your brain can start to weaken, just like an underused muscle. Think about it. When was the last time you learned something completely new? When was the last time you had to figure something out that wasn't already familiar? If it's been a while, your brain may not be getting the workout it needs. The good news? You don't have to go back to school or take on something overwhelming. Mental challenges can be as simple as trying a new recipe instead of making the same meals, reading a book on a subject you know nothing about, playing a game that requires strategy or problem solving, learning a new hobby, knitting, woodworking, playing an instrument, anything that requires thinking and doing. One of the best ways to challenge your brain? Teach someone else something new. Explaining a concept to another person forces your brain to organize and retrieve information in a way that deepens your understanding. It's one of the most effective ways to strengthen memory and keep your mind engaged. So, whether it's teaching a grandchild how to bake, showing a friend how to play a new game, or even sharing interesting facts you've learned, your brain benefits every time you engage in active learning. We've covered a lot in this section, from the power of mindset to the importance of mental challenges. But there's still one more shocking habit that can quietly accelerate brain aging, and it's something so widespread that most people don't even realize the harm it's doing. We've already discussed how negative thinking, a lack of mental challenges, and poor habits like stress and inactivity can secretly speed up the aging of your brain. But here's the thing, even when you think you're doing everything right, there's one more sneaky habit that could be quietly undermining your mental health: your diet. Now, I'm not just talking about eating too much junk food, though that's certainly a problem. What I'm referring to is something far more subtle: the lack of key nutrients that support brain health. For example, let's talk about the impact of sugar. You might already know that too much sugar isn't good for your waistline or your heart, but did you know it can have a direct impact on your brain, too? Here's how it works. When you eat a diet high in processed sugars, it causes your blood sugar levels to spike and crash, leading to inflammation in the body and the brain. Over time, this chronic inflammation can damage brain cells, impairing memory and cognitive function. Excessive sugar can also contribute to insulin resistance, which is a condition where your body stops responding properly to insulin, a hormone that helps regulate blood sugar. When this happens, it can impair your brain's ability to use glucose for energy, leading to slower processing, foggier thinking, and a higher risk of dementia. But it's not just sugar. Another culprit? Processed fats. You might be surprised to learn that a diet high in unhealthy fats, like those found in fried foods, fast food, and packaged snacks, can be just as harmful to your brain. These fats contribute to inflammation, increase oxidative stress, and can even impair your ability to form new memories. Studies have shown that people who consume high levels of processed fats over time tend to experience a greater decline in brain function compared to those who eat a more balanced diet. So, what should you be eating instead? First and foremost, focus on foods that are rich in omega-3 fatty acids. These healthy fats are the building blocks of brain cells and have been shown to improve cognitive function, protect against neurodegeneration, and even boost your mood. You can find omega-3s in fatty fish like salmon, walnuts, flax seeds, and chia seeds. Next, incorporate plenty of antioxidant-rich foods into your diet. These foods help protect your brain from oxidative stress, which occurs when harmful free radicals damage your cells. Berries, leafy greens, dark chocolate, and even green tea are packed with antioxidants that can help protect your brain and keep it functioning at its best. And don't forget about whole grains, brown rice, quinoa, oats. These provide a steady source of energy for your brain and help keep your blood sugar levels stable. Low blood sugar levels have been linked to poor concentration and memory problems, so keeping your energy steady throughout the day is key. But it's not just about what you eat, it's also about how you eat. One habit that's particularly damaging to your brain is eating on the go. When you're eating quickly or while distracted, you're not giving your brain the time it needs to process the meal properly. This can lead to overeating, poor digestion, and a lack of nutrients reaching the brain. Instead, take the time to sit down, enjoy your meal, and focus on the flavors and textures of the food. Eating mindfully allows your brain to register the experience, which helps with digestion and ensures that you're getting the full nutritional benefit from your meal. Another important part of your diet is staying hydrated. Even mild dehydration can impair cognitive function, making it harder to concentrate, recall memories, and solve problems. Aim to drink plenty of water throughout the day, and try to minimize your intake of sugary drinks or excessive caffeine, as they can lead to dehydration and energy crashes. Now, you might be thinking, I've heard all this before. But I want you to hear it in a different way. Your brain needs the right fuel to function at its best. When you feed it with junk, it doesn't have the nutrients it needs to stay sharp and healthy. But when you nourish it with whole, nutrient-dense foods, you're actively supporting its longevity. There's no need to make drastic changes overnight, but even small shifts, like swapping out a sugary snack for a handful of nuts or adding more leafy greens to your meals, can make a world of difference over time. Your brain will thank you for it. At this point, we've covered how diet plays a huge role in brain aging. But there's one final habit that often goes unnoticed, a habit that, believe it or not, might be the most important of all. That habit? Your relationships. It might sound surprising, but social connection is one of the most powerful ways to keep your brain young. Engaging in meaningful relationships and maintaining a strong social network actually protects your brain from cognitive decline. Studies show that people who have close relationships with family and friends experience less memory loss and live longer, healthier lives. It's not just about having people around you, it's about the quality of those relationships. Regularly engaging in deep, fulfilling conversations with loved ones, participating in social activities, or simply spending time with others can keep your brain engaged and give you a sense of purpose. On the flip side, isolation and loneliness can have a serious negative impact on your brain. In fact, social isolation has been linked to a higher risk of dementia and depression. The good news is that it's never too late to cultivate strong relationships, whether it's reaching out to old friends, joining a club or group that interests you, or making time for family. So, if you've noticed that your brain feels a little foggy or slow, it might not just be the result of age, it could be a sign that some of these habits are quietly taking their toll. The good news is that by making small changes, getting more active, improving your diet, challenging your brain, and nurturing your relationships, you can make a huge difference in how your brain ages. And remember, it's never too late to start. No matter where you're at right now, you can always make choices that support your brain health and keep you feeling sharp, energized, and engaged in life. So, here's to a healthier, sharper brain, and to embracing every moment with the vitality and clarity you deserve. We've covered quite a bit in this series, haven't we? From poor sleep habits to negative thinking patterns, the impact of diet, and the importance of social connection, it's clear that small changes in our daily lives can have a big impact on our brain health as we age. But there's one more habit that can be truly detrimental to brain health: lack of physical activity. We've all heard how important exercise is for our physical health, but what about our mental health? Can getting your body moving really make that much of a difference for your brain? The answer is a resounding yes. Let's start with something simple. Exercise boosts blood flow to the brain. When you engage in physical activity, your heart pumps more blood, which carries oxygen and nutrients to your brain. This increased blood flow helps your brain function better by supporting the growth of new brain cells and improving the connections between them. Studies show that regular exercise can actually grow the hippocampus, the part of your brain that's responsible for memory and learning. In fact, one study found that older adults who engaged in moderate exercise had better memory and thinking skills than those who remained sedentary. But that's not all. Exercise also helps to reduce inflammation in the brain. Chronic inflammation has been linked to neurodegenerative diseases like Alzheimer's, so reducing it is essential to keeping your brain healthy. Regular exercise can lower inflammation, decrease the risk of cognitive decline, and even help prevent the onset of diseases like Alzheimer's. And here's something else that might surprise you: exercise can help you sleep better. We've talked a lot about the importance of sleep throughout this series, and exercise plays a key role in improving the quality of your sleep. When you exercise, your body releases endorphins, natural mood boosters that also help regulate your sleep cycle. The better your sleep, the better your brain can rest, repair, and recharge, helping you wake up feeling sharper and more focused. But let's talk about the type of exercise. Many people think that if they're not doing intense cardio or lifting weights, they're not benefiting their brain. But that's not true. Even low-impact exercises like walking, yoga, and Tai Chi have been shown to have significant benefits for brain health. The key is consistency. Walking, for example, is one of the simplest and most accessible forms of exercise, yet it's incredibly effective for maintaining brain function. A daily walk increases blood flow to the brain, improves cognitive function, and has been shown to lower the risk of dementia. Plus, walking outside, especially in nature, can reduce stress and promote relaxation, which is also great for your brain. Yoga and Tai Chi, on the other hand, combine physical movement with mindfulness, which is an excellent way to reduce stress and improve brain health. These practices not only increase flexibility and strength, but also boost mental clarity and focus. The mind-body connection created by these activities is especially beneficial for older adults, helping to enhance memory, balance, and concentration. But here's where it gets even more exciting. Exercise also has a direct effect on neurotransmitters, the chemicals in your brain that help regulate mood, memory, and overall cognitive function. Physical activity boosts the production of brain-derived neurotrophic factor, BDNF, a protein that supports the growth and survival of brain cells. Essentially, exercise is like fertilizer for your brain, encouraging new growth and strengthening the connections between existing cells. In fact, regular exercise has been linked to lower rates of depression and anxiety, both of which can negatively impact brain function. When you exercise, your body releases endorphins, which are natural mood elevators, leaving you feeling happier and more energized. These positive effects on mood can help combat the emotional stress that can often lead to mental fatigue or cognitive decline. Now, let's pause and reflect for a moment. How much time do you spend being physically active each week? If you're like most people, life might get in the way, and it's easy to put off exercise. But the truth is, no matter your age, getting moving, even if it's just for 15 to 30 minutes a day, can make a world of difference for your brain. So, if you're not already moving regularly, start small. Take a short walk around the block, try a gentle yoga class, or even dance around your living room. The important thing is to get your body moving, even in small ways, every single day. You don't need a fancy gym membership or expensive equipment to improve your brain health. The best part is that exercise is free, accessible, and one of the most powerful ways to prevent cognitive decline and keep your mind sharp for years to come. Now, before we wrap things up, let's talk about one last piece of advice that ties all of these habits together: consistency. We've covered a lot of ground in this video, and it can feel overwhelming at times, right? Changing habits, breaking old patterns, and starting new routines all takes effort. But here's the good news: you don't need to do it all at once. The key to maintaining a healthy brain is consistency. Small, consistent actions, like improving your diet, moving your body more, challenging your brain, and nurturing your relationships, will add up over time. The more consistently you engage in brain-boosting habits, the more you'll notice the benefits. You'll feel sharper, more energized, and better equipped to take on the challenges of everyday life. And here's the most important takeaway: it's never too late to start. Whether you're 60, 70, 80, or beyond, your brain is capable of growth and improvement. Every positive choice you make, from getting more sleep to practicing gratitude to moving your body, helps protect your brain from aging faster. The more you prioritize your mental and physical health, the better you'll feel, the more confident you'll be, and the longer you'll be able to enjoy a sharp, vibrant mind. So, what are you waiting for? Take action today to protect your brain and keep it strong for years to come. Your future self will thank you. Here's to living your best, most vibrant life, no matter your age.